You can see this here. Well, good evening, y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here to celebrate this amazing work of art. Somebody I count as a dear friend remind me to tell y'all the story sometime about how we met. She kicked me out of her yard, but anyway, that's a different story. Until her son rescued me. And then that's a different story. She thought I was stalking her. I was, but her son rescued me. So my name is Robin Richard, and thank y'all so much for coming to the Kukui Institute. We are, Lord and I are grateful to be the inaugural exhibition for this fantastic piece of work. I just met Diane this evening, and she asked me what my word was in seeing this, and I still don't know. I think, Diane, I think the word that I'm going to come up with is love. I think that's what this quilt really exudes, is this abundance of love, not only for the quilter and the artist, Patricia Gaston. I'm talking about you like you're not here, like all you ain't here. But for the love that she has for her family. I hope you saw the pictures back there, the love she has for her community and the love that she has for this art form. And so you're going to hear more about that when she comes. She's going to talk tonight and then tomorrow, specifically for the Quilter Talk. But I do want to thank a few people, a few companies first that really helped us pull this together. This was a multi-state work. And when people heard about her quilt, no one to the person said no about being involved in this, and then some offered. And so I just want to really point out a couple of people. First, I want to thank Erica Sandifer Ayers. She is a professor at Miles College. And when I was doing the research past what PJ shared with me on Baptist Town, a lot of things kept coming up Greenwood. Well, Professor Sandifer Ayers had done this research on it. She is from Greenwood. And so she is making the film circuit. A piece of her film is in the exhibition video, but she had done this film called Mission Recompense, a love letter to the Mississippi Delta. And so part of that is in that, but it's making the film circuit now. And so she allowed us to use a snippet of that with the gentleman, Sylvester Hoover, who is considered a historian of Baptist Town, one of the historians, I should say, of Baptist Town, but he grew up there in Greenwood and is a tour guide there. And so we have a quote from him. So I'm really grateful to her. So if you get a chance to see her film, she's making the film circuit now. So if it comes to the area or you get a chance to see it, please do so. So I'm really grateful to her because she immediately said yes. And I know when you work on a film, Mike and Robin just left, who I work with Mike at PBS. And so, it's a labor of love. And sometimes you don't want to release it until, it's made the circuit and all of that. But when y'all see her film at I don't know, at the movie theater, just say y'all saw it here first, okay? Right. Just trying to build up history. And then the other one is Emily and Richard Elliott with the Delta Design Build. They are a local architect firm. Emily, I come to find out, learned about it through some graduate studies, learned about Mississippi. And so she planted herself, her and Richard planted themselves there. And so we have this reception because they said, we want to provide something. They couldn't be here. They had planned to be here, got sick. But they said, we wanted to provide something. And so the reception food is because of them. So I just want to really thank them for, but also because of the work that they're continuing to do in Greenwood, specifically in Baptist Town. And so, sometimes people come in and they do it, they get the money and they leave. Well, I'm really grateful that Emily and Richard chose to stay there, just like Erica chose to stay, even though she's in Birmingham, but she chose to continue to uplift the community. So I'm really grateful. And then the other person is, many of you, if you've seen the blues marker over here in front of Five Sisters, the gentleman who I worked with for that. He really led that project, was Jim O'Neill of Kansas. And so when I was doing that, I was trying to find a little bit more definitive research on Baptisttown. A lot of people had ideas about the start of the name. And so he put me in touch, Jim O'Neill with Living Blues magazine. He put me in touch with Alan Hammonds, who grew up in Greenwood. Alan Hammonds is a white brother, and he grew up in Greenwood. And he always says, I was a poor white. So don't think he was a rich white man, but but he left and came back and saw the beauty of the city and really documents the history. So a lot of his work shows up in the Mississippi Blues Trail work. So I'm really grateful to those two gentlemen who, again, not even knowing Patricia, just saying yes to helping with the research. And then finally, I want to thank the Gaston family, because not only did Patricia say yes to exhibiting it here, but the family really, from her research and the work, the family really poured into the project and supported her. And I think that's important. When you have something of this magnitude, sometimes people don't understand the importance of it. But the Gaston family really did surround her in love and uplifted her. So can we just give them a hand? She's going to introduce them. Okay, we give them a hand. And so, I'm going to just read, if y'all bear with me, I'm going to read this quote, because I don't know a lot of the history, so I'm still doing a lot of research on just where quilting came from. But I thought this was really important. It says, Black quilters are primarily responsible for turning the American patchwork quilt into an instrument of storytelling and historical documentation. And that's a quote from the Black History and Quilting, a story from the African American Registry. One of the earliest quilters, and you see a scant picture of her in the video, is Harriet Powers. Harriet Powers was born during the enslavement period, and she is accredited with really bringing storytelling and the narrative program, the narrative process to quilts. Before that, quilts were by and large functional. So if I just ask you, how many of you just had the quilt kept warm? Yeah, and that's what quilts were meant to do. Well, Harriet Powers was showcasing one of her quilts in I think a World's Fair type of exhibit. A woman comes up and says, who made this quilt? She was so enthralled by it. Well, long story short, the quilt ends up in the Smithsonian. And so her two quilts are in the Smithsonian today. And they made replicas. The Smithsonian has made replicas of it. I was trying to find one, I promise you, because that would be a great gift to give to PJ. And then I think it was like $10 million. And I was like, that would be a great gift to give to PJ. She's worth it, but we ain't getting that gift from PJ. You're worth it. Never forget you're worth it. And so you are worth it. And so quilts are by and large either functional or artistic. So you either use them for warmth, to keep the cold out, the warm in, or as Harriet Powers taught us, then you use them for art. And so then we see quilting come through. They encircle the dead when they either on the battlefield or at home. If y'all are from the country like me, then you know the cooling board where they would keep someone who had passed in the home, either because the funeral home couldn't handle them or just because that's the way that it was done. And so they kept them on a cooling board, put some ice up underneath and kept them that way. The quilt kept that, made it literally like a refrigerator. That was another way. You see quilts at county fairs and things like that. Well, then here we have this lady called Faith Ringo, one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite quilters, who really rose to prominence she's an artist and a teacher, but she really rose to prominence with her quilts, and she used them because she said, I'm a Black woman and I'm gonna exert my power. And so in the 60s, that's what she did. And so her quilts, hers was the first poster that I bought. I was so young I had to borrow that $40. My mama said, "You want $40 to buy a poster?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." And my mama gave, I don't know if I ever paid her back, but she in heaven now, so Jesus paid it off. And so I really do. I have two of hers, and I cherish my faith ring gold. One I got at the High Museum in Atlanta. I cherish those pieces because of the power that she put in as a woman, as a Black woman, as a human. She really showed that she did that. And so let me just fast forward when I saw, of course, there were others, and you see Michael Cummins in there, you see Bisa Butler. I think I have a quote by Bisa Butler in there, these people who are well known today, who are standing on shoulders of people like Harriet Powers and Faith Ringgold. And so I saw PJ and I are neighbors, blocks down, blocks neighbors, and this is my gardening buddy. And so she asked me to photograph. When I first saw the quilt, she asked me to photograph. She'd been talking about it and asked me to photograph the quilt. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious. And I have seen quilts in museums. Just the love, y'all. I was like, oh my goodness gracious. This needs to be exhibited. This does not need to, I love her children, her grandchildren. They don't deserve to be the only ones to see this. Sorry, y'all. They don't deserve to be the only ones to see this. That this really does need to be a story thing. And I count myself as a storyteller. This rises to the occasion of this amazing work of art. And so, so if you will join me, I am going to have her son, Carter J. Gaston, to introduce her. And then we're going to have Patricia talk. Just as a point, we do have Patricia has postcards back there for $2, which is amazing. You can have your own. I know you're taking pictures, or you can have your own postcard to take with you and share, because in 100 years, somebody will going to say, oh my goodness, you were there. So make sure to get, I don't know, 1 for 2, 5 for 10. Is that a good deal? 1 for 2, 5 for 10. Okay. All right. So get 1 for 2, 5 for 10. 10 for 20. Okay, let me hush. And then and then tomorrow, so the quilt will be exhibited tomorrow, 10 to 5 here tomorrow. You can come in and out, but at 2 o'clock she's gonna do a quilter talk, so that she will go through, but she is gonna do a little bit here today. So I'm gonna have Carter J introduce her. And finally, we are live streaming this, and I want to thank WBQP TV, Mr. Vernon Watson, who and for a long time has been the voice of the community. I count him as a friend. And so, Vernon, thank you so much. So he's live streaming this, so you can tell your friends again that you were here. So would y'all please join me in welcoming Carter J. Gaston, who is the son of Patricia Gaston and an artist in his own.
How's everybody doing tonight? Thank y'all for coming out. I am Carter J, the world's greatest live portrait artist. Live on the spot in minutes, or from any photo you text or email to me. Shout out to Patricia. We call her Master P, because if y'all know anything about hip hop, she's a no limit soldier when it comes to her babies. No, just me. Okay, cool. It's okay. It's a thing. Google no limit soldier Master P. It's okay. It's okay. I'm the only one that calls her. Anyway. But and she's a veteran, and she's a very Army veteran. Shout out, not going to bed and having to stand in the push-up position. You know what I'm saying? Until you get tired and go to bed. My point of memories. Here we go. Getting on punishment. We lived in a quarter set growing up. We had my mom. We nice little quarter set. We would go and play down the hill with our friends Joel and Enrique and Big Frank, and she would literally yell down the street for us to come home. Like, twins! We'd be on our way home, and she'd be like, and then the neighbors would be like, your mama calling you. So this is what we grew up with. I'm an artist. I'm losing. Hold on. Yes, and I'm a twin. I got you, Robin. I got you. So punishment and reset, being put on punishment, always having a place, being able to sit down She always encouraged us to sit down. Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, Mom. Here we go. She had us in auditions when we were young, 6, 7, 8, growing up in Atlanta, and having two outgoing kids who weren't afraid to talk to people. She had us in auditions and theater, commercials from 6 to 18, 20 years old. Always been super supportive of us and whatever it is we wanted to do. 33 years, Bell South, AT&T, and every year she worked. Every summer she had a side job, whether it was quilting, whether it was floral designs. She was a neighborhood candy lady for like 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's always encouraged us to use our God-given gifts and talents to make a way for ourselves. So with that said, I want to introduce a beautiful, amazing quilter, mom, and me mom, Patricia Gaston.
Thank you all. That's one of my 3 adult children. And since he mentioned, bear with me, he makes me laugh.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay.
So when I was sharing with him that Robin was giving me this opportunity to display my work, he just started grinning and he was like, okay, we're gonna see if you can project your voice so the people in the back can hear you. Where is this coming from? Because they were introduced to theater and acting at a young age, 5, 6, 10 years old. They were introduced to theater and acting. So he was saying, when he'd be loud sometimes, I would say, well, why are you so loud? He said, that's what Mama Leon taught us to do, project our voice. I said, yes, on the stage, not at home. So thank you. And I want to thank Robin for this opportunity. She's my neighbor, gardening buddy, and sister friend. And a few months ago, she stopped by the house and I had my work laid out. And she looked at it and said, PJ, where are you gonna hang this? I said, I have no idea. Right now, I'm just trying to make it. And she looked at it and she said, it should be hung in a museum. I said, you think, Robin? Thank you. She said, we've got to have it at the Villas. So it's making its debut here at the Kukua Institute. And thank you. So tomorrow, if you all can join us, I'll give a tour and a discussion and share some of the stories from Baptist-town, from my childhood memories of my family and neighbors in the 60s. Thank you all. Hope to see you tomorrow. Yes, ma'am.
Patricia was making this leaning on the ground in the floor in her living room. You know, back saving work. This wasn't up on a table. And you were bending over, and then I would see you at the public library and sewing from there. You sewing, and then over at the one on Chase. You know, like you would be a presence in the community, rolled up and sewing. And I don't know if anyone took film of you making it. It was, but
maybe the satellite.
Amazing work.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So if you all can come out tomorrow and hear more about the story. So, and as I was working on it, Robin was like, well, when are you gonna get to? When are you gonna finish? I said, I don't know, Robin. I keep thinking of things to say. I mean, to add to it. She said, well, you're gonna have to cut it off and have a chapter 2. I said, how you gonna have a chapter 2 with a quilt, Robin? So although it's closed up and a sleeve so it can hang, there will be a chapter 2 or a part 2. And that will be the telling of the story, what inspired. Pardon? Well, okay, it is Greenwood, Mississippi. It's about 2 hours from Memphis, Tennessee. It is North Mississippi in the Delta, the heart of the Delta, where the blues and all that good stuff come from. Mm-hmm. That's it. Okay. Pardon? Help me out.
What made you do it? What made you want
Oh, I've always thought about my community and my family and things, and I wanted to write. And over the years, I would just do personal journals and write. And I would always ask my sisters when we got together to share stories, but I just couldn't put the story together. And a few years ago, I said to one of my sisters, I think I'm just going to create a quilt of the community. And then I'll just make it like an area view where I'm looking down at the community. And I remember sitting on the porch as a kid, and I would look to see my neighbors, who my neighbors were. And I would say, Miss Cindy lives here, Aunt Emma lives here, Miss Bessie and Mr. Benton live here. Then I was realizing I knew my neighbors. And then another time sitting on the porch, because that's what I was allowed to do. My brothers got to go and play till it got dark and the street light came on. But the girls, some of us had to stay home, so for whatever reason. So as I began to learn my neighbors, and some of them who knew me before I knew myself. So I'll share some of these stories too. Oh, any more questions?
How many hours do you think you spend on it
Oh, to be honest, I have no idea. I actually would do it at my leisure when I wanted to work on it. And I started out, once I had the idea and the vision and how I wanted to do it as an overview. At first, I was only going to tell about the 4 blocks or 2 that I was familiar with walking around in. But as I got the city map and saw the community and saw that it was much larger, I was like, oh, I got to do it like the map. Well, as close as I could. So, so sometimes I would work on it. I started like maybe several years ago. I started out with construction paper and scrap paper, trying to create the blocks. And then I had to decide how I was going to create the houses and how many houses would go in here. So as I learned that it was 300 to 400 houses in this community, it's like, how am I going to get all of that in here? So it took a while. I don't know how long it took me. I did record the times and stuff, but I worked on it off and on for several years. But then in 2023, I had to put it away because I was ill. And I wasn't sure if I would be able to go back to it. And by the end of 2024, I was feeling better. And in January of 2025, I made a decision to pull it out and try to continue to work on it because I was feeling better. And then I made a decision to set a deadline to finish by the middle of the year. And I missed every deadline that I set. But I eventually put it together and finished it. Okay, and this is Mr. Cash. Do you have something to say? Say hello. Oh, okay. Oh, get him started. Yes, Lisa, I'm sorry. Help me with the question. When I look at the quilt, really not much right now. I don't see it like other people see it right now. I just look at it as a piece of work. You know, I'm proud of it when I see it. And, you know, thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes. Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I think, you see, I have the east and westbound railroad tracks, and it was sectioned off with the north and southbound railroad tracks. See my pretty creative tracks? I really worked on those. I was like, the railroad tracks represented once you crossed the railroad tracks, you were in Baptist Town. You were in Baptist Town. Yes, sir. Railroad Town? Well, I really wasn't sure why they called it Baptist Town. And I used to ask older people in my community, but at that time they didn't know because it was called Baptist Town when they moved there. But Miss Robin found some information out about how it got its name. And I believe it was from the baptizing in the this is the Palusha Bayou, and this is the Yazoo River. And these are where they would baptize people. Yep. So I take it that they got it from baptizing people in the Baptist churches. Yes. Yes, ma'am. My family and the community and thinking about them. And like I said, I always wanted to write about them. But I was just writing so much I couldn't condense it, and so I decided to do the quilt. And I was really just doing it for me and my family because you're thinking, you know, some people like quilts, some people don't. But to me, it's more than just a quilt because it's art. And my magnolia just make it look like a bow on a gift. Ma'am?
All material. Every piece of it is material. Different pieces of material. Like what's that? All material.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think the birds, they will have this.
Yes.
Wow, so you I'm looking at that.
Yes, I said I need I need the marking birds. I will state birds. So instead of finding a picture of a bird, we are artists. So I sketched them, I traced them out and with on the fabric to create the birds. And for the magnolia, I started to look for some fabric with a magnolia that I could cut out and put on there. And I said, why don't I just make a magnolia? So I went and got my white flower. And I actually created that while I was at the working at the public library. They have a sewing room there, and they have supplies and stuff that you could use. So the fabric was mine, but the middle part was a yarn donated at the library to make my center of my flower. So the quilted looking fabric at the top is part of one of my mama quilt tops. And I can remember when my mama asked me to come and thread a needle for her. And I was about 6 or 7 years old. And then about 8, 9, or 10, she started saying, come and sew these two blocks together for me, giving me some little squares of fabric to sew. And I would sit on the porch or in the living room doing that, just 2 at a time. She would give me 2 pieces at a time to put together. And then she probably would go over it or something because I was a kid, just to give me something to do. So my mama taught me basic quilting, patchwork. And then as I got older, I wanted to get a little creative with it. So then when they started putting transfer papers, I started putting photographs on my quilts. So, yeah. Yes, ma'am. Some of the photographs? Yes. And there are some over there. There are pictures of my family. Can we might get a little water? Can you open that for me? The photographs at the top. Hold on, baby. Thank you, Miss Hazel. The photographs at the top are my mom, my dad, my grandmama, my mother's mother, and my mother doing her sister's hair. My mother was a beautician for about 50 years in the community. Under there is an article from 1964 when the civil rights and the boycotts and things were going on, and they had their little printout where they would keep the people updated on what was going on. And that paper was in my mama's shift row of records for forever. So I had an opportunity to keep it. And under that is a picture of the Gullich sister. This was one of my neighbors, Miss Cindy, who I mentioned, one of the neighbors. And I remember when I was first introduced to her, I heard some sound coming from next door. Now, these were shotgun houses and mostly close together, so you could hear people next door. And I heard this noise, and I asked Mom, what is that noise? She said, that's Cindy banging on the piano. So I was like, okay, but I was a little kid. But you know, back in the day, some organists and piano players, they hit the keys real hard. Well, Miss Cindy played for the local churches, was the organist, and she wanted to form a youth choir. So she asked my mom if 2 of my sisters could be in her youth choir. And Mom said yes. So they sang with her group for about 3 or 4 years. during high school until they graduated. The pictures over here are from the New Zion Baptist Church. And at least 4 generations of my mama people attended this church, including her kids. And in 1925, they had a scrapbook published. And in that scrapbook, it featured 2 pictures of my grandfather. And he had passed. When he passed, they did not have a picture of him. So they put his casket in front of the church, and the deacon board stood behind his casket, and they took a picture. And another class stood behind his casket. And these are stones or plaques with their names on them for either being a deacon or I think one of them was a deacon and a treasurer for the church. So that's what these pictures are. And I'll talk more about that tomorrow. Thank you.
Let's give her another hand.
And listen, give Robin a hand. I just did this, but she did this.
This is the easy part.
Yeah.
This didn't take years.
Oh, I was one of my sons, he's coming from work. He may get here before.
Got one more question over here.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes. Mhm. No, sir. No, sir. I never worked with any of those sewing equipment. So I just started off doing the little squares and using the sewing machine until it got so big. I started to try to hand stitch. So some of it is hand. My mama taught me to hand stitch. And when I got older and people started using the sewing machine, I was like, that's cheating. That's not quilting. But now they do both. They do both, hand and machine. And this is a mixture of both. Okay. Okay, I'm going to introduce my kids real quick. Oh, my granddaughter Hazel. Somebody.
They watch the
Oh, yeah, the little one a little restless, so they stepped out with him. May you speak? May she speak? You want to say something? Okay. Miss Hazel wants to say something. She's so shy.
Hi, my name's Hazel Gaston. I am her 4th grandchild, and I just wanted to say thank you for all coming here. I really appreciate it, and I'm willing to see y'all tomorrow when I do a speech for y'all.
Thank you. So my sons, Carter and Carlton, live here in Pensacola, and my daughter, the oldest, lives out west with her family in California. So they're here with me tonight, and hopefully they'll be there tomorrow. Okay. The kids are out with Cash.
Okay. So let me just tell you all about the significance of Greenwood. She talked about the 1964, but Greenwood became the epicenter. You see the pictures of Dr. King, Stokely Carmichael, Andrew Young, Dick Gregory was one of the first to come there because Greenwood had more African Americans than whites. there, but the power was disproportionate there. Some say still to this day, but there's a black mayor that those tentacles still are reaching in Greenwood, particularly in Baptist Town. So Baptist Town has tried to resurge, and a lot of the houses are still in disrepair there, even though there's been this huge effort. But in the 60s, when this I guess next to the last civil rights period, Greenwood became the epicenter, particularly because when James Meredith was trying to enter the University of, was it Mississippi? University of Mississippi, he got frustrated with the wait and with the politics and with everything. And so dared to make this walk down to, I believe, Jackson, a 200-mile walk. And on this walk, I think within his first or second day, he was shot by a white man. He survived it multiple times. He survived that. But civil rights leaders like Stokely Carmichael, like Dr. King, Hosea Williams, who Patricia's family knows, Stokely Carmichael really took up the mantle on it. And so they continued that walk. They ended up, you see pictures of them walking into Greenwood, being at a church in Greenwood, and that's thanks to pictures by this photographer, Bob Finch, who the Stanford University Library acquired his pictures. So we're grateful that they let us use those. So because these marchers were there, and by the time they finally got to Jackson, it was thousands. But when they got to Greenwood, Stokely Carmichael wanted to set up a tent because people needed some place to stay. And Patricia would probably tell you better that there were limited or no hotels for African Americans there, very little. And so they needed a place to stay. So they were setting up what they called a tent city. And we have one of them where Stokely is getting arrested. And they was doing it at Patricia School, Stone Street Elementary School. That was in June 1966. So Stokely was arrested. When he got out of jail, it was at night. And so you see a picture of him in front of the microphone making that. That is when he made that profound speech and call for Black power. And so it had been said before, but when something shifted. And so when he made that, people started chanting Black power, Black power. And so Greenwood, Baptist Town, is attributed to it. They have a marker there, a historical marker there. And just up the road is Money, Mississippi, Itabena, what's the other town? Money? Indianola, are all of those towns. Well, Money, Mississippi and Philadelphia are where Emmett Till was murdered. And so they have the only known statue of Emmett Till is in Greenwood. And so this town is, although he wasn't killed there, but they put the statue there from there. And so they put the statue up there. And so this town is really significant. So the struggles that continue to this day are still amazing. And so I'm really grateful for these pictures. We do have 2 pictures of the actual baptizing in Volusia Bay on there. So the lady coming up out of the water, and then those other people, those are actually pictures from the 1930s in Volusia, am I pronouncing it right? In Volusia Bay. Yeah, and the name, it does come from both the baptizing and the McKinley Street Baptist Church and Patricia's Church. New Zion Church came out of McKinney Chapel Baptist Church. So make sure if you do, and we'll post it on our Facebook as well. I'll have Lloyd do that. And you can make sure Vernon has it too, the exhibition video, but it will be running all tomorrow as well.
And this is where McKinley Church was in the community. And New Zion was actually across the tracks, 1 block over on Carrollton. But this is where we attended services, Bible study, revivals. But we did visit McKinney for revivals and guest programs by the time I came along in the 60s. Yeah.
So thank you all again so much. I wanted to make sure that you get a chance to, if you haven't already met Patricia, to visit with her, to get a picture with it, and please post it, post it so that you can he can cheer because y'all were here first. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So again, thank y'all so much for coming out. Thank all of you, and including WBQP TV, all of our media. Visit Pensacola, who has spread the word about this and shared this. Thank you to our great volunteers. Letha back there is ready to take your money for the postcards. Juanita, Bobby, thank y'all so much. And again, can y'all just join me in thanking the Gaston family for their, yeah. Oh, my fine smart husband, Lord, has to be him. I'm sorry. That's on me. That's on me. That's on me. Y'all please enjoy. We have plenty of food and drink, and meet Patricia.
Thank you.
Okay.